So just before I begin, at one point, I'm going to ask you to stand if you've been a partner involved in any NRCS project within the Driftless in any way, either through your group, through yourself, through your clubs, things that you've done. So this is interactive, and you've got to be quick. You got to stand really quick. It's going to happen 2 times. Okay, with that we can begin. So a little history. Obviously, the Driftless for our agency has been an important area to work with in dealing with natural resource issues for a long time. Our founder of our agency, Hugh Hammond Bennett, worked on one of the first projects in Coon Valley in the Driftless region. That's Hugh, seen in the middle. And maybe a couple other former state conservationists. We won't use their names, but I don't know if that's Don Malone on the far left. Maybe Pat Leavenworth with a hat. But that's just rumored. But essentially, we still have had an impact from that one project on the landscape even today. You see those contour strips as you fly over that region, and you know how important it was. But in today's world, we still have a lot of erosion occurring within the Driftless. And so we're still working in that basin to do projects and begin and continue that effort. So it's still very important. This is a part. Partners, please stand up if you've been involved with us in our Driftless Area Initiative. Now, instead of trying to name all the different partners, because there's so many, and you can see from this room all the people that were impacted, thank you for that. And they put together this initiative with us, and we focused on forest land as one of the categories. We thought that was a very important area to work on. We broke up into 4 areas in particular, but forest was one. We also went into working lands, and the Driftless is very unique and rich in the different working lands and environments that are within that region. And so there we're working with the cropland and the farmsteads that are occurring within the watershed. We also then wanted to look at some of the natural areas. So we looked at the prairie areas. And so we focused the program of working in prairie areas and the practices that you find are needed in that type of landscape. And then finally, we also know that the stream corridors and the streams are very important. So we looked at making sure we had all the proper practices that landowners could apply for within that region. So those were the 4 land-based categories, and this has been going on since 2012, when Wisconsin put a little money in on their own, and then the other 3 states joined on a national approved one the very next year, 2013. So some of the practices relate to those landscapes. So habitat improvement is a key one, and I know many of you in this room have worked on that, and not only looking at the stream bank erosion, but also putting the habitat practices in. Prescribed grazing, which again goes back to that unique resource corridor and the types of farms that we find within the Driftless, and grass-based farming is a big part of that. Landowners, we have such a diverse group of farmers within this region, from cash grain to dairy to organic to small production farms to forestry. So they're all represented in what we tried to accomplish. And restoration of some of our prairie areas. Some of you have already mentioned it, and I hope you're taking advantage of our programs with landowners to establish those prairies, maybe burn those prairies, other practices that would apply there. And pollinators, that's another key role for the agency. We've developed several practices that are targeted to provide forbs within different seedings to provide that the pollinator habitat for both native and for the honeybees of recent. And our typical conservation practices on the landscape. So grass waterways, strip cropping, erosion control practices, as you saw in the history, is still a key part of what we're trying to deliver out in that region. Within it, we also have developed some projects. So here's Iowa County project in Wisconsin. We're looking at a large stream section. You can see the habitat in the back that was created. That little ponding area is actually a refuge area off the side of the stream channel for flooding activities. Sauk County, and you're going to hear more about Bear Creek later today. I think Tony is going to make a presentation on that. And this is a very successful project because not only were we putting a lot of practices in, but we had multiple landowners over a 4-mile stretch that applied conservation and stream bank practices. So that will be interesting to hear more in detail. And then finally, just to give you a little bit of an idea of what we did to date, and our partners, please stand, because this is all your part. Come on, quickly, gotta get up. All right. $10 million have been applied in conservation practices, over 88,000 feet of stream bank protection put in place, and we have another 1.5 coming in this year. So I thank you, partners, for all the work that you applied by using our program. Thank you.